Hi, this is Mrs. Beach, and in this video we're going to talk about some basic modeling functions on Tinkercad. The first thing we need to do is create ourselves a new project. We're going to do Create 3D Design, and then we're going to make sure we change the name as soon as we, oops, that's not a 3. As soon as we get into the new project, I'm going to call mine 3D Modeling, and I'm going to click to save the name. The work plane, remember, the default setting for measurement is in millimeters. If you choose to change that to something different, you just come down here to settings and you change it where it says units. All right, you have inches. You also have bricks as an option for Minecraft. And let's get started. In Tinkercad, you are putting shapes together to create things. So if you can figure out the shapes that make up something, you can possibly build it on Tinkercad. So we are going to start out today just with the basic shapes menu here. You can see there's quite a few shapes, and there's actually more than what's already loaded. That's what we're going to use, but I just want to show you here in this shape library, if you click on the arrows, there are lots of options for shapes. There's some circuitry stuff, there's hardware things. You have lots of choices, then you can go and explore those different menus. We are going to start out just by putting a cube on our build plane. So we're going to left click on a cube. We're going to bring it over. We're going to left click again. That drops it right here on the work plane. You can see when a shape has been selected, it gets these little white squares. Also, this properties box will open up. The properties box will show you the color that it is. You can choose between having it being solid or having it be a hole, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then every shape has its own different set of properties that are involved with it, and you can make changes to things here in this properties box. All right. Solid allows you to change the color of the shape that's already on the board. Remember that the color that you make something in Tinkercad is not the color that the object will print out from your 3D printer. So the color that you print is determined by the color of filament that you have loaded in your printer. Right now, this cube on my Tinkercad is yellow, but if I were to take it and print it on my 3D printer, it would be purple because the filament in my printer is purple. You can make things any color you want on Tinkercad. What colors they become when you 3D print them is going to be determined by which colors of filament that you select to print them with, or resin if you have a resin printer. So that is solid. The other option here is hole. What this does is it makes a hole that's shaped like a cube in this case. For holes, you would use a solid piece, and then you would put another piece into it or on it that's a hole, and then that would make holes in the solid piece that you have on your work plane. We're going to use our square as a solid, and we're going to put a different shaped hole in it. And if you try to send this to your printer just like it is right now, it's not going to do anything because it reads this area as a hole, and you can't print a hole if there's not a solid to hold it. We're going to go back to solids. We are going to talk now about the size of our shapes. If you look here, I'm going to use my fit button. Each of these little white squares, if you click on them, it will give you the dimensions of your shape. When I click on this, I can see that my cube is 20 millimeters deep, 20 millimeters wide, and then this right here will tell me the height, which is also 20 millimeters. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and move my shape over, and I'm going to change my cube and make it 50 by 50 by 50. When I click on the white square and I click on the number, it allows me to type in the size that I want. Now I have a bigger cube. It's 50 by 50 by 50. When you look at the cube, you can see there are these 3 arrows here that are rounded. This changes the angle of the cube. Let's say I use this one here, and I click on it, and I hold, and I turn. It's going to change and turn my cube 90 degrees. I can also click, oops, let me click on it again just a second. And if I click and well, if it will cooperate, here we go. If my cursor's further out on the circle, then I can go a degree at a time. I also, on this one, have the option to click on the number and just type in the number that I want it to be. It would move it 45 degrees for me. I am going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and move it so that it's flat on the bed. So now I'm back at 90. All right, that's how you change the angle of the object. We have our square here, our cube, and what we're going to do now is we're going to put a hole in the cube. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to get the cylindrical hole shape, and I'm going to bring it over, left click on it. Well, come on. All right, I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to put it on the side of this cube. So Tinkercad has this cool function where it will actually put things on the side of other objects for you. And that's a lot easier than putting them on the work plane and then trying to move them up into your shape. So we have this cylinder, and again, the default size for everything is 20 by 20 by 20. And because our cube is 50 millimeters deep, we don't want this to be 20 because it will just get lost in the center of our cube. So I'm going to make this bigger than the depth of my cube. I'm going to make it 60. So now you can see it's sticking out here, and I need to push it into my cube so I can make this hole. If I take this black arrow right here and I push my cylinder into my cube, I will see eventually that it's come out the other side, right? And I can now center my hole in the cube. I want my hole to be right in the middle of the cube. And the way I do that is I have to select both pieces at the same time. I'm going to click in the white, and I'm going to drag over both pieces, and they'll get this bright blue outline around them. Then this right here that looks like a bar graph, this is the align tool. And you can see there you can also press L to use it. But it shows you these paddles, and when you click on them, the ones in the middle will center your shapes on each other. This one is going to center it, and it turns gray once it's centered. This one will go width, and this one's going to go, whoops, let's make sure that did actually click. This one's going to be the depth, right? Now my hole is right in the middle. Okay, it's already joined together from when I aligned it. So all I have to do now is hit group, and it makes this cube for me that has a hole right in the middle. So that's how you add a hole. Now let's say I wanted to make a hole that is not all the way through. Let's pretend that I'm going to take this cylinder here and I am going to use it to make a cup. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, and I'm going to leave it the same height. And to make a hole, I need another shape, right? So I'm going to put a cylinder on top, and the cruise is going to allow me to do that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and make this 25 by 25 in depth and width. There we go. Now I want to align these two together so that I can make sure that my hole is right in the middle. So I did my drag and click, and now I'm going to align this way, and I'm going to align this way. I don't want to align this one because it will push the hole all the way through the bottom of my cup, and I need a bottom so that I can drink out of this thing. I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to use my arrow again. All right. If you look here on the left-hand side, it's got the 19 with the bracket. That's the number I'm going to watch because that tells me how close I am to the bottom of the shape that I'm pushing this into. I want to stop right here at 2 millimeters. So that means that at the bottom of my shape, there's going to be 2 millimeters of plastic underneath the hole. I'm going to group these together, and I'm going to click there. And now you can see I've made this little cup that still has plastic on the bottom, so it can actually hold things without them falling out. All right, now I want to show you real quick the functions up here, copy and duplicate. If you want to copy something, you would click the two pieces of paper here. Paste is the clipboard, and it's going to kind of overlap the two things, and then you can move this one and put it wherever you want it to go. If you wanted to make a copy, but you want to make, let's say we're going to make like a row of cups, and we want them to all be evenly spaced and lined up together. Then what we would use is duplicate. I'm going to click on my little cup here. I'm going to click on duplicate. That automatically copied and pasted another cup. I'm going to move it, and I'm going to move it here so that they're lined up evenly, and they're, probably about 5 millimeters apart. Then when I hit duplicate, it's going to put another cup, same distance. So I can make as many as I want and put them in a line or in an order, right? Then if I wanted to, say I wanted to make another row of these, I could drag and select all of them, duplicate, pull that whole row forward so that they're kind of lined up, hit duplicate, and I can just duplicate as many as I needed. So if I was making something, say you're making, 200 cups, you could start with one, you can make a row of 10, and then just make rows of those until you have what you need. So that's the basic functions of Tinkercad. Oh, I forgot to show you how to ungroup. So if you have stuff that's grouped together, you click these two. It's going to take us back to where we started with our solid cylinder and our cylinder, right? And then we could always group them back together again. So if you make something and it didn't work out and you need to ungroup the pieces, that's how you do it. So remember to get back to your dashboard, you click the rainbow cubes. That's going to take us here. We can see what we built on the modeling plane. If we want to go in and change these things, we could click Tinker this and go back and work on them again. So that's the basics 3D modeling in Tinkercad. Thank you for watching.